A successful marketing campaign takes strategy and preparation and is by design, not by accident. And so in each episode of Beyond the Logo, we delve into a specific aspect of marketing to help you design a successful marketing campaign. Today we take a delve into the fashion pyramid. Don't go away, we'll be right back. Going live on video makes you visible, and so the next time someone needs goods or products or a service, they're more likely to go to someone they've come to know, like, and trust. So go live on video and get people to know, like, and trust you. If you just joined us, then you are watching Beyond the Logo with myself, Bridgetti, Banda, and Nancy Lockhart. If you haven't followed us yet, if you choose to do so, you'll get notified next time we go live. So a warm welcome, whether you're watching us over on Amazon Live, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, Twitch, LinkedIn, a very, very hearty, warm welcome to you. In today's today's episode of Beyond the Logo, we're going to be talking, sharing some more tips and best practices for you so you can level up on your marketing campaign. And we're going to focus on the fashion pyramid. My amazing friend and co-host is Nancy Lockhart. And before I ask her to join me on screen, one of the things we do in marketing, and I must tell you something I read the other day, and I believe it's quite true. You know, it says you are the logo, because a lot of times, you know, you become the business. You are your brand. There's no off-duty time. And so a lot of people have pivoted, thanks to COVID, into using online methods or more online methods of marketing. So it's always great for us to just at the beginning of the show share one or two tips with you to help you level up on your online appearance. Now, if you're a person that's doing marketing for your business and you are doing TikTok or you're doing Instagram, I know that you are very, very likely to hold your phone in portrait mode. And that's 100% correct, because it uses all the screen real estate if you're doing TikTok and you're doing Instagrams for your business. However, here's a quick tip. If you are going live on Facebook, on YouTube, or any of the other platforms other than Instagram and TikTok, you may wonder, why do you get those black lines on the side when you're going live with your phone? A quick fix is to simply go into settings and turn off the screen lock, and then turn your phone into landscape mode. And here's a quick hack for you. If you find yourself in a hotel room or some strange place and you've forgotten your gear, no problem. A very quick hack is to actually just take your phone and tape it, sticky tape it to the window of your hotel room. And you know what? You'll have it at the 90-degree angle, which is just perfect. And you'll have front-facing light, which is exactly what you want. You want people to be able to see you clearly and not have you disappear into the background, which is what happens when you have light coming from behind you. Always have front-facing light. And if you want to level up just a little bit more on your sound, you can invest in something like a microphone, an additional microphone like that, which is a Bluetooth one, or a lavalier microphone, which is a clip-on one. All these little things will make big changes to how people perceive you when you appear online. And of course, if you are using your laptop, you can level up by using a webcam, and one that I recommend, which is mobile, which you can take anywhere with you, is one of the webcams in the Logitech range. And my personal preference, I've used about 5, 6 of these in the Logitech range. I love it, but the Brio is the top of the range, which has got 4K. Um, and it's got right side technology, which means that it will adapt to your lighting condition. Could you ask anything easier? So those are just my very quick tips to help you on your way on using online marketing. So without any further ado, I want to invite my amazing co-host and friend, Nancy Lockhart. She's the founder of Lockhart Marketing. Nancy is also a #1 best-selling author. She's worked with some of the most iconic brands such as Target, Kaiser Permanente, Medtronic, and she leverages her knowledge and expertise to help women and men like you out there rebrand your business and yourself so that you can become profitable, successful, and a little bit more purpose driven in your marketing. So, with that, let me invite Nancy to join me. Nancy, welcome. How are you today, my friend? Great to
I
have
am
you.
doing well. Thank you so much. It's wonderful to be on the show. It's wonderful to be able to chat with you about marketing. And I love what you said about, the branding yourself, how important it is. It's hard, very difficult to separate your personal brand from your business brand. And so those tips were absolutely amazing. Got me thinking about some ways to level up, as you said, with my on-screen presence and if I'm in different places and that type of thing, to be able to leverage it to create that best appearance as you're engaging with your audience. So thank you very much.
It's an absolute pleasure. It's a pleasure. Glad that we've restarted the series. So if you've wondered what's happened to us, we've taken a very short hiatus and we're back.
We are
And
back.
every second week, we're going to be sharing some amazing marketing tips with you. And today we're talking about the fashion pyramid. Nancy, before we share the amazing presentation you put together, do you want to just give us a brief sort of overview of what the fashion pyramid entails and what people can expect to learn out of this episode?
Sure. Well, I think, along the lines of the personal brand, one of the things that everybody does is engage at some level, what they wear, how they present themselves. And so I thought it would be kind of fun to take a look at the um, fashion and the luxury pyramid, which is basically a segmentation for the fashion industry of different levels and segments of how designers and distributors and retail outlets classify the different types of fashion and clothing, and essentially the products that they have and that they sell. And I thought it was really interesting because I think we tend to think it's just a very glamorous, excuse me, a very glamorous, kind of approach, and how things are kind of presented. It's, you have the very high end that's for the few people, and then you have various segments within that. But it really is if we think about it, it's a business. And so the way and the decisions that are made in order to choose those different segments are something we can leverage within any business. And we actually go through and take an example of, say, you have a coaching business and how you can apply that. So we'll do that later on. But at first, I'll just kind of take you through some of the pyramid, and so you can kind of get an idea of what I'm talking about a little bit more, and then we'll take it to some more practical tips for marketing for anybody.
That sounds great. So what you're saying is that the principles that we'll learn in today's show isn't necessarily only for the fashion industry. the principles that they will learn in today's episode is something that can be applied in other industries as well, because the principles remain the same. Is that correct?
Absolutely. You can leverage these ideas and principles. And sometimes I think what's important when we, kind of take a look at maybe an industry that's outside of our own, it helps us stimulate our creativity and our thinking, and like, oh, I see how, they do something that felt maybe very different, very closed off from your particular business. And then you go, oh, that makes sense. And this is how I might be able to better segment or better position my products and services or promote my products and services. So I think it's fun to kind of take that leap for a little bit. Come on a journey with us as we take you through, and then see how you can leverage the concepts for your business.
Absolutely. So shall we take a look at, first of all, how the luxury fashion pyramid is designed, and how and what it is?
Absolutely. So just going a little bit further into the description, it's a market segmentation concept, and it basically segregates fashion brands based on price, quality, creativity, and actually distribution as well. So as you can think about that in our own businesses, price, quality, creativity, and distribution are very important concepts for any business. The concept here is that the higher the segmentation level, like the more exclusive you're at, the smaller your target market is going to be. And we'll go into that a little bit more and how that can equal a successful business proposition. But you want to make sure that you're using these principles to really target your ideal audience based on the types of products and services you want. So if you're, we're going to do a lot of like, okay, there's high price, very direct and focused, at the very tip of the pyramid. And then you go all the way through the different segments to see how kind of those work together. And I do want to point out that even within this pyramid, we'll cite some examples, but even within those examples, some of those high-end design houses have brands and labels that fit into other segments so that they can, they're targeting different audiences. And I think that's one of the things that I really want to emphasize, is that nothing's cut and dry. There are so many ways that we can look at how we market ourselves and brand ourselves, but being really strategic and being smart and knowing how we're entering those markets is probably the most important thing to think about. So however you want to mix it up, as long as you're strategic and mindful, then you're going to be very successful.
If you think about it, regardless of what the product is, everything is segmented into some form of category. In this case, we're just using, the fashion industry, but across the board, all products usually, high-end products, mid-range, lower end. So it really is the same. So I'm sort of getting a sense of what you're trying to explain.
Exactly. Just thought this would be, a fun and different way to approach that market segmentation. So here's the luxury pyramid. There's different versions of this pyramid, but the concepts are basically the same. At the very top, you have a small target market, and where you see, kind of the size of target audience is small at the top. It goes to the largest one at kind of almost the bottom, but then again, it almost does like a little bit of a curve, because when you're going into a very discounted, there's, less of a mass appeal. There's certain people that very much want to pay minimal prices and will have less concern about how exclusive a product or service is. And then you have kind of the drivers of what people are looking for, your target audience is looking for. At the higher end, it's quality. They really don't even consider the cost at all in here. They just want an exclusive quality product or service and have kind of an unlimited budget in this particular example. Then you kind of go down into, quality and cost kind of come together as drivers, but quality is still very much the main driver. And then that switches where cost is the main driver, but you still want a quality product. And then ultimately price is the driver. So you have these sections of haute couture, ready to wear, diffusion, bridge, mass market, and discount. And we'll go into each one of those and show you an example of these different segments of the pyramid.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to diving into what exactly they are and how, how they are positioned for the market.
Yeah, so we'll start at the very top at haute couture. These pieces are very exclusive. They're not made in any way, shape, or form for the mass market. They're made to measure, so they're not sizes. They're really kind of, pieces of artwork. So they're commissioned, the designers working directly with the client, and the client really is more interested in the quality, the craftsmanship, the artistry of that designer. And so it's like almost picking a piece of high-end artwork for your home, but you're using it as fashion for yourself. Now, in this example, I believe this is Chanel. I don't know where I would wear that hat, but it's a gorgeous piece, and it is like artwork, but it is something where there's a very small segment of your target audience that's going to have the budget and the desire and the place to actually embrace, wear, and show these pieces of artwork, if you will.
It's a very exclusive market, and it's a very clearly defined market. And it's it's not necessarily just because people can or cannot afford it. It's more for a specific person who wants to stand out for a specific reason. And that's why they appreciate the design that goes into it and the exclusivity that comes with it. And so, when you think of the brand name like Chanel, that's not somebody that's going to be made for something that's synonymous with a mass market. It's a very exclusive market.
Exactly. And the other thing about this segment, now we've all seen Chanel bags and clothes, but in this particular audience segment or a target customer segment, you're creating something that's very unique for the client that you're dressing. And that image, then hopefully you'll see this, with superstars and models, but that image gets portrayed and that brand gets associated with those unique pieces. And then that allows that brand to go into a little bit more of a larger market segmentation to offer pieces, because whatever the illusion that is evoked through that brand, once again, am I going to wear that feather hat? Probably not, but what it exudes as far as high-end, elegant, artwork, perhaps I want to have that same type of imagery with that same design aesthetic from Chanel, but maybe it's in a different segment where I can afford it, and I'm not going to fly the designer to my home to have it, created for me. So yeah, as we go down, right, we go down into what's called ready to wear, which is essentially the pieces are still very elegant, very expensive. However, they start to create some standardization. So you have sizes. The size element within fashion is a big element, because that then allows you to start to customize. So instead of having one piece that's very high priced, that's been given all of the attention of a particular designer for a design house, you have something that is maybe more people have access to and can wear. Now, this is still going to be expensive. There's still going to be a high level of creativity, uniqueness, but it does expand it a little bit more, your target audience a little bit more. So you have brands such as Gucci would be doing more ready to wear. Again, these pieces all of them can go to the very, base of the pyramid as far as accessibility, affordability. It just depends on how they're distributed. But when you get something that's, fresh off the runway, as you've heard, they tend to be more exclusive, more, and you don't see a lot of the haute couture. You might see it on the runway, but it's something that then actually gets commissioned if you say, I want something that's similar to that, where this would be more when you see people like sitting at the fashion shows and they're looking at clothes and they're like, I want that one. Then they can have that particular style or fashion made, but it's still very high end. And but very glamorous, obviously. I might actually wear that dress somewhere if I could afford it.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Very, very, very chic, very glamorous.
Yes, very glamorous. Yeah, that's what makes it fun. So the next level down, and it adds a kind of a different dimension, is this diffusion. So you have these designs that are inspired by ready to wear. Again, each one of these segments appeals to a wider audience. But the thing that's interesting about diffusion is that it also incorporates a little bit of there's a younger market. So it gets to be a little bit more kind of like trendy, if you will, but also trying to appeal to some younger audiences that may not have the same amount of disposable income as some of those higher audiences, although some young people have lots of money. But these tend to be a little bit more fashion forward.
The tables
That's
a little bit, just a little bit.
Just a little bit, but also, so these are, fashion pieces that are also distributed to, different retail and wholesale outlets, opposed to exclusive stores or exclusive, like you go to a design house and have your, the fashion design. So you have, in this example, you have a DKNY, Mark by Marc Jacobs. Now you see Mark by Marc Jacobs, the brand itself might be higher up on that, on the pyramid, but Mark by Marc Jacobs is a little bit lower, more accessible, maybe a little bit more trendy along those lines. And so you see that the term, even diffusion, is a term that helps like kind of spread out that, the accessibility to that craftsmanship at a lower price point, a little bit more trendy.
Yeah, I never thought about that, about the word diffusion, but it kind of just, as you said it, I realized, it's something that's more spread across,
right.
A wider audience. And so that absolutely sort of makes sense, using that word diffusion.
So, and you take that concept, diffuse may not allow you still accessibility, but when you get into the bridge where you kind of diffusing, then cross over to the bridge, this is, again, it starts to bridge that gap between the high end, and we're getting closer to a mass market. This still is, fashion tends to be, a more premium, industry. So you're still talking some pricey pieces, but this is higher distribution. There is more mass appeal. So it's not as individualized, fashion description or portrayal, but this is a little bit more for a broader audience. So you have brands like Coach and Diesel. And so in this, in this example, you see something that is very, looks very wearable, very accessible for a broader audience. You might see, a woman on the street dressed in this particular outfit versus probably you won't see the feather girl on this walking down the street.
No. Chances are very slim of seeing a lady in that feather hat walk down the road. That would likely not happen.
No. Not unless someone was shooting a campaign. I doubt you would see that.
Yes, that's very true. It would have to be some kind of a marketing campaign.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So the next we have the mass market, which is really, near the base of the fashion pyramid. this is where you see some of those high-end designs really being influenced but produced on a much larger scale, where you have elements of fashion, you have personality and style of the designers, but they're not looking at every single piece. It's being mass produced, it's being distributed in different outlets and different retail outlets. And also, it's interesting because some of these brands like Zara and H&M have their own stores where they've mass produced so many different types of fashion pieces that warrants a store where they can distribute, that broad appeal of fashion. Now, what's interesting is that, you can probably extrapolate whatever has happened to our world that's changed, but you are seeing some, high-end, very famous people wearing some of these mass market clothing, and what they're doing is, it's very interesting, is they're mixing it with some very high-end fashion. So you'll have shoes, but this dress, I think there was a picture of like Emma Stone in this dress, but she had these, beautiful Gucci shoes on, and she had a purse that was, thousands and thousands of dollars, mixing that up, which is kind of, it's once again, not only is you as a business mixing up your levels of distribution, but the consumer and target audience is also making choices based on, okay, well, I really want a high quality shoe, but I want this kind of dress that might be a little bit more fashion oriented, a little bit more, less of a basic, but something of like kind of fun to have in my wardrobe. So once again, your price point goes a little bit lower. And I mean, it's actually, this is where you see a kind of a nice jump to much more affordable pieces, but you also see it more broadly marketed. So this is where you might walk into a party and someone has your dress on. Maybe some of the other areas.
Yeah,
you might get that
very
exclusivity.
interesting. It's a very interesting mix, because you do see women now who would wear a mass market dress that's maybe not that high end, but she'll be wearing Prada shoes or Chanel bag.
Yes, absolutely.
Just teaming that together, still being exclusive, although it's not the entire outfit.
Well, and what's interesting there is that then you allow your target audience to apply their own design element, to put together their own fashion. So, you could go either way. If you think of like the little black dress, right? You might say, I want a very high quality little black dress that has some unique fashion element and design, but then I can layer, like you're doing with your scarf, it's like you're adding your personality, your style to a very beautiful, kind of neutral background. Now you could go, I can get a little black dress anywhere. I can go, off the rack and get that, and then dress it up with, my Prada shoes and my Chanel scarf and, that type of thing. So it's interesting how the end consumer consumes the product in this particular case with fashion. But once again, trying to keep that in mind with whatever your business is, like how do you modify, like it's really super important to understand your target market, what's important to them, where they will invest, and where they're going to kind of, play, and maybe not invest there as deeply with products and services that you offer. So this is just a fun way to kind of go into demonstrating how some of this works. Now, at the very base of the pyramid is this value budget segmentation. And this is really where you start to see some of your, discount fashion that's being, shared. However, it has actually evolved a lot where you get some very fashionable pieces at very affordable prices. Once again, you might be wearing the same thing as your neighbor. However, what's really interesting, and I've been super impressed, Target has been known for this, and I think other retailers are following suit, is that they're doing exclusive deals with high-end designers, haute couture designers like Missoni. Target did a Missoni collaboration where they did just a few lines and distributed those for a short period of time in Target stores. Very affordable, very accessible, but signature design elements. So Missoni is very famous for this kind of a zigzag design. So they use that on all different kinds of, not just fashion for clothing fashion, but home accessories and kitchen. I think they had a mixer that had the zigzag. But it's interesting because they're creating this this access of these designs for people that may not have been exposed to it and may have some income that they could use to purchase higher up in the brand pyramid. Or you have like the discount outlet malls and things like that, where they're actually have produced more than they expected. So they weren't able to kind of anticipate what the supply demand is. And so then they discount the price and then they sell it through the outlet stores. So that's another way for you to get more accessibility to some of that higher end up the pyramid fashion at a reasonable price. Once again, it's about how do you anticipate the market, and then if there's some sort of a miss, how do you then anticipate how to leverage the most that you can out of the pieces that you've produced or designed and that type of thing. So that's really the pyramid and some examples from a fashion perspective of that luxury branding and all the way down to that kind of value part of the pyramid, which I thought was a fun walk to take for us today when we're thinking about our businesses.
Absolutely. That was a fun walk through the fashion pyramid. And so if you are watching us, you are watching Beyond the Logo with Bridgetti, Banda and Nancy Lockhart. And we're going to take a very quick break. And when we come back, we'll round up what we were talking about today on the fashion pyramid. Don't go away. We'll be right back. And welcome back. You're watching Beyond the Logo with Nancy and Bridgetti. And we were talking about the fashion pyramid. And if you've missed the first half of the show, we're just about busy rounding up right now to conclude this presentation for today. So if you missed the first bit, please go back and rewatch that on the replay. So let's kind of just go through rounding up what we were talking about today.
Absolutely. This is kind of a summary of what we went through. So going from the different fashion segments from haute couture and these elements of exclusivity, distribution, and cost. So haute couture is very high exclusivity, low distribution, high cost products and services. And then you go for ready to wear, which is still very exclusive. There is limited distribution, few and still high cost, not as high cost as haute couture. Diffusion, you start to get into this medium exclusivity, you get less limited distribution, and then you get moderately high. The cost, as you go down, you can see the elements, how they're moving. With Bridge, it's medium to low cost. You have a broader distribution and then moderate costs. And then mass market is low or non-existent exclusivity, very broad distribution, and moderate to low costs. And at the very bottom, you have a very low, non-exclusive, kind of a mass market, as you borrow from the mass market. The distribution is broad, but not as broad as mass market, because you're kind of, wrapping up the fashion segment and kind of going around and saying, okay, what didn't sell and how do we discount that? And then the cost tends to be much, much lower. So that's great to think about these segments and these areas from a fashion perspective. But one of the things that I wanted to do is take it to, broaden it for businesses and wanted to do like a focus on if you have a coaching business that you're focusing on, and how these segments might help you with your business, and then ultimately how you're going to want to market with aligning with some of those segments.
Did we start to see a bit of more of a mix post-COVID or during COVID, Nancy?
You know, COVID is what has influenced, I think, every aspect of our lives. And I think what you saw was, there was less of a reason to be, to see and be seen in a haute couture, outfit. So you started seeing people really embrace that mass market comfort. Comfort became even more of a desire than maybe exclusivity, which also meant, that the cost would go down. However, what also happened is that you saw the haute couture go, oh, people are dressing down, but we can still use high-end fabrics, materials, and design to adjust for what's happening with, a COVID environment where people are staying home, but still want to look good, feel good. You put something on it, it feels really nice. But I think what you saw is a much more of a blend, like you said, where you have maybe one really, nice exclusive piece, and you're pairing it with perhaps, your a t-shirt, or as I did a lot, my kids' high school volleyball t-shirts with my fun leggings, that may be a little bit more expensive, or my, tennis shoes, or that type of thing. So
yeah, I think we saw a lot. We saw a lot of innovation during COVID, and I think the emphasis has shifted somewhat, or quite a lot, to comfort.
1000%. And it's hard to walk away from that, because then you get used to being comfortable in your clothes. Not that clothes can't be beautiful and comfortable, not at all. But we know you put on a pair of high heel shoes after you've been in flats or tennis shoes for, a couple of years. It takes some getting used to.
It's a huge adjustment.
It definitely is. Definitely is. So, like I said, I wanted to bring forward kind of an example of how to leverage some of this thinking in a business other than fashion. So if you take, and I just picked, kind of the high end, the middle, and then the base of the pyramid as examples. So if you have a coaching business, perhaps if you're doing like a haute couture type of coaching business, that's something you're spending a lot of time, one-on-one time with your clients. They have specific needs and specific desires that you're going to take a lot of time with them, with their specific issues that they want to have, coaching on. Again, that impacts your distribution, because you only have so much time one-on-one, right? So you're going to also, once your expertise is perceived as being able to adjust to specific one-on-one situations, the cost per interaction then obviously would be going up because of, again, it's supply and demand. So your marketing is going to be much more targeted towards that very small target segment that has a particular issue that you're going to address. You're not going to be doing big campaigns or a lot of social, except you might want to be putting some things out to kind of filter people. I have clients that are in this sort of haute couture segment, and they'll use blogs, or they'll use speeches, but they'll drive people to the website and then very clearly will say, are you ready to invest X number of dollars to be coached by me for this particular thing? And that tends to weed out a lot of people. They might like the idea of like, oh, I want to be coached to be a better speaker. But, when you get down into that really one-on-one and someone has expertise, you're paying a premium for that. And so that can kind of weed some of that out. So I wouldn't spend a lot of money focused on large campaigns in that particular segment. When you go into more of the bridge, you start to kind of mix things. Like I said, you can mix having some one-on-one coaching with maybe having some group coaching in this coaching example, where your your classes are less one-on-one focused, but a little bit broader, where you have maybe a larger issue that you're coaching on, the more people could sign up and then help to, broaden distribution and reduce costs, because you're able to address a larger audience. And there you get more of your mass market, where you really leverage your social media, you build your email lists and your campaigns, and then maybe you start to be, you engage on kind of the influencer and social media, where people look to you for advice in general and then want to say, I want to take your class, or I want to do, maybe even one-on-one coaching with you. But you have much more limited time to do the one-on-one coaching than someone maybe in a haute couture situation where they're charging, $50,000 to coach you for a specific period of time, something like that. So it becomes much more broader in distribution and more accessible for people. And then I chose the mass market, which would be large group classes. Perhaps you have some one-on-one, downloadable classes. So you're doing very passive classes, but at lower cost, once again, and much broader distribution. And there you want to do you really want to engage in mass mailing. It's really about numbers, like getting people curious, getting people to enroll, and that's how you're driving your revenue stream. So just a little bit of an idea of kind of how to leverage some of that thinking from the fashion pyramid into a different business. And so just as takeaways, making sure that you are, you can look at other industries and stimulate that creative thinking, which I think is, it's kind of fun. Get out of what your typical comfort zone is how you run your business, and look to other industries for innovative ways to think about how to package what you offer. Again, the more exclusive your product or services are, the more focused time you have, and really your output needs to be very individualized, which probably means charging a more premium price, because if you think about the pie of your time, how do you maximize your revenue stream and also satisfy what you love to do for your businesses? Broader target means a more general product offering. Once again, exclusivity, less products, less distribution at a high per product cost. And your mass market is going to be more products, higher distribution at lower per product cost. So applying those kinds of ideas and concepts when you're thinking about your marketing plan, your revenue, how you're going to generate revenue and profits for your business. This is just a different way of looking at it, and a little bit of a, putting a creative spin on how to think outside the box.
Absolutely. And, I love the way that you lay things out in such a practical manner for people, so that they get the point of how they can apply it, not only in this one instance, but how they can apply it to other segments of the market as well, when they're thinking of working out their marketing plan. But, to me, all these points that you've raised today just sort of reinforces that, it's research, planning, and that a good, successful marketing campaign is definitely by design and not by accident.
Absolutely.
You've got to know your market. You've got to do your research, because people are very fickle, and you've got to understand those nuances about the marketplace in order to hit your target well.
Right. Yeah. And I do think with COVID, bringing up that point, that the accessibility issue, things being online and accessible in that way, have also driven a personalization aspect where you can shop online, you can have groceries delivered, you can have anything delivered to your home, you can Amazon anything. And I think the thing is being able to anticipate what your target market might want or could want in the future. And by doing that, you get ahead and you become the place to go for whatever your product or service is, whatever your business is offering. So you're absolutely right. Smart planning, smart execution, knowing your audience is going to be super key as far as putting together your market plans and, the products and services that you offer and how you offer them.
And understanding what people want before they even realize that they need it.
Yes, exactly. The crystal ball. Yes, when I can present the crystal ball for you all, then sign up because I'm going to want to know that myself. I might watch the playback on the crystal ball, but we're trying to get as close as possible.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. Time has caught up with us. I want to say a huge big thank you to everyone out there. If you've watched the show live with us, thank you so much. If you're going to be catching this on the rerun, then welcome to the show as well. And thanks for joining us. We will see you on the next episode of Beyond the Logo. So thank you for joining us. Take care. We'll see you next time. Going live on video makes you visible, and so the next time someone needs goods or products or a service, they're more likely to go to someone they've come to know, like, and trust. So go live on video and get people to know, like, and trust.